now I'm working for Soundhouse. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. We'll see if the dog will let me get through this. So,
All right.
all right. Scott Comer here from Masters of the Musiverse, and I've got another great interview coming up for you today. But before we get to that, I want to ask you, take the time right now to subscribe to the channel. Like this video. It's going to be great. Just do it right up front. Like the video. It also helps me out if you do the alert. So that little bell thing down there, click on that. And then one really exciting thing, I believe, starting when this video is out, it's also going to be available in podcast format. I'm very excited about that. So check out that if you're into podcasts. For right now, I'd like to introduce everybody to Del Lyren from Soundhouse. Del, thank you so much for being with us today.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Del, I think I've probably known you for 20 years when you worked for Bemidji State University. We got to know each other, I think, pretty well. I've enjoyed our relationship. I'm very excited about expanding that into the things you're into right now. So Soundhouse, can you tell us what is Soundhouse?
Yeah. So Soundhouse is a company based in American Fork, Utah, just south of Salt Lake City. And it's owned and founded by a guy named Chapman. And Caleb ran this company for, I think, about 20 years or so. And it became highly successful as, I hesitate to call it a community school, but, almost kind of an after school program, although a lot more intense than that, if that makes sense. And, he had bands, I think everything from 5th grade through 12th grade, jazz bands, Latin bands, rock bands, you name it. And they won Downbeat Awards every year, and just really highly successful program. So that's what Soundhouse started as. And then obviously COVID hit, and he had to come up with a new direction, which is kind of how we ended up here with Artist Access. And so yeah, he's still kind of expanding and reaching out to music ed circles and coming up with different ideas that way. So
okay. So we're, like you mentioned, we're going to talk about the Artist Access program, which, I mean, the name says a lot, but what can you tell us about Artist Access?
Yeah, Artist Access was, again, Caleb's idea, and he called me up in, I think it was the end of July 2020, and asked me to kind of take it and run with it. And what it is a online platform for connecting teachers, students, and even fans of these artists to, connect them in a way that maybe the students could take lessons with these people on our roster, or teachers could bring in the people on the roster for clinics or rehearsal feedback, or maybe even a recording session. If you have a band that is playing a piece and you want a trombone soloist, you can hire somebody off the roster to play a trombone solo on a track of your CD.
Okay, that's really cool. That is a great thing to have access to, because I've thought about that, and we can't always. I can try to connect with people, but knowing that there's somebody that can be the middleman for me to do that with this program, that's pretty awesome. So anybody that can hear this right now, by the way, I've got a puppy, and this is what we call the zoomy time. This is when her energy gets ramped up. It's kind of like where I'm at with my life right now, though. So like the puppy's here making noise, but biting me a little bit. So just so everyone knows, I'm not really hungry. It's my dog growling. So
that's not your stomach, huh?
Yeah. So can you talk about some of the artists that you have on the rolls at Artist Access?
Yeah, right now we have 120 people on the roster, and boy, we have, first of all, I'll just say generally we have people from all different genres, and every instrument. I think we have every instrument except viola right now. So, and that's nothing against violists. We just haven't had, I guess, any luck getting anybody onto the roster yet that plays viola. We'll get there though.
Yeah.
So we have all the strings, we have piano, we have voice, and all the rock band stuff. We have, I guess if you want me to get into specific people, we have Steve Morse, who is the guitarist with Deep Purple. If you know Smoke on the Water, that tune, you know, he's the guy that plays that guitar solo, which is pretty cool. He's awesome, and he's been selling lessons like crazy, literally to people all over the world. In fact, I got to watch him teach one with I think he was a 12-year-old kid from Ireland, and it was super fun because you know the kids' eyes were like this big the whole the whole lesson, and the kids' parents were coming in and saying, "Oh, we're huge Steve Morse fans," you know. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, there. Sorry, if my video was on there, I really jumped. You really surprised me.
So yeah, we have Steve Morse, we have Jeff Coffin on saxophone, and
Oh man, he's a
Wycliffe.
great educator. I've
Yeah,
seen him work with people. He's fantastic.
yeah. In fact, he probably did our Jazz Fest, and I weren't you here for our Jazz Fest when Jeff
Yes,
and
because
Wycliffe that year?
yes, because you had Jeff and Wyclef Gordon, and I'm like, I gotta get there.
Yeah, yeah, that was one of the best ones I think that we ever put on, probably.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, Wycliffe, and on the classical side, I mean, even on the jazz side, we got like Peter Erskine, and Greg Bissonette on drums. On the classical side, we've got people from Chicago Symphony, New York Philharmonic, Boston Symphony, Berlin Philharmonic. Um, we have a clarinet teacher from the Sibelius Academy in Helsinki, Finland. A flute teacher from the University of the Arts in Vienna. She's fantastic. Um, Trumpet player from Russia on there. You know, literally, it's a worldwide operation. So,
Yeah.
uh, yeah.
So how would I know like if like who to connect with? Like, I want X thing for my program. Is there somebody that would walk me through like, hey, you should really seek this person?
You know, that's a really good question, and that's not something that is necessarily on the website, but it's something that I'd be happy to help with, and in a way, that's kind of my job uh, to help people connect with the right person. So, um, you know, I would say if somebody is interested in something like that, they could just send me an email. My email is del@artistaccess.net, and yeah, if they can kind of tell me what they're looking for. Um, and I'm happy to make sure that they are connected with the right person. Definitely.
Yeah. And so maybe we should talk real quickly too then, like how do I just get involved, like access to the program? Like how do I get involved?
Hmm. Yeah, so it's super easy. When you go to the website, which is artistaccess.net, you get on there, and we actually just changed it so you can get on and you can see all the people on the roster. You can see their fees, and you can see their calendar. Um, and you know they might have limited amount of dates on the calendar because they don't put every minute, you know, that they're available. Most of them will put like 1 or 2 dates a month or something like that. But if you are interested in, say, taking a lesson with Wycliffe Gordon, and you look at his calendar and there's not a date available that you would like to have, then there's a little button on there that says contact for rates and availability, and you can send him a private message, and you know, and just say, hey, Mr. Gordon, I'd love to have a trombone lesson with you, or I would love for you to work with my jazz band on January 24th of 2022. Could you possibly do it? And then he would hopefully answer back, and all the emails are kept private, so it's all you know, just through the Artist Access website. No email addresses are revealed. So
Yeah.
I think that's nice for the artist, probably more than the person seeking the artist.
Yeah, that is I mean, I might have to start practicing so I can take a lesson with Wyclef Gordon because that would be I would probably just spend the whole lesson just, asking him to play different things.
I
But
know, right? Yeah, I would too.
yeah. So when I first was thinking about this program, I was thinking about it more from like me as a music educator, but it sounds like it can be accessed by pretty much anybody that is
Mhm.
interested in just pursuing this.
Yeah, it can. You know, I feel the biggest market in a way, and the biggest reason that we put this together was to be a service for music education, because that's where the whole Soundhouse program comes from, is that music education circle. So to me, that's the most important reason for having it. But outside of that, absolutely, if someone's a fan of Dave Matthews Band and they want to just chat with Jeff Coffin for 30 minutes, they can get on there. We have what's called a hangout, and they can book Jeff for a 30-minute hangout and just talk and ask him questions. And that goes for just about everybody on the roster. They're all open for that. Um, so yeah, it could be fans, and then yeah, almost anybody really
Yeah.
can have access to it.
I mean, and obviously, like you said, I mean, like there's educators can use this like in a lot of different ways, whether it's having somebody come in and work with, your trombone section or an individual student, or like I was really intrigued by the idea again of maybe hiring somebody to come in and record like a solo over your jazz band or something like that. That could be a
Mhm.
phenomenal experience.
Yeah, it really could, and yeah, and just hiring somebody to come in and just work with your jazz band or your concert band for 30 minutes or an hour or something like that. That's also available. And we're hoping people will take advantage of that, because most of the artists on the roster have kept their fees really, really low, realizing that people's budgets are kind of, just probably cut and slashed at this point. Um, at least probably a lot of people, I think, maybe not all, but
Yeah.
so realizing that, yeah, they kept their fees very low, most of them, and for anywhere from like, oh, I don't know, I mean, I kind of hate to quote fees, but for some of the bigger name people, maybe in the range of $500 to have them, work with your band for a day. Uh, Not for a day, maybe for an hour or two. Sorry about that,
Yeah.
but yeah, compared to what it would normally cost to bring in someone like that, an A-list type of person, you're probably talking $5,000 or $6,000 normally.
Right. Yeah, I
So
mean, and I don't want to go on about silver linings of the pandemic, but certainly this programs like this are part of the silver linings of what, we had to have this because it was the only way to connect. And now past this, I mean, this is going to be a great thing outside of the pandemic for us to be able to bring people in to work with our kids.
mhm. Yeah, that's what we're hoping too. We'll continue to have artist access as an online resource, but we're also hoping to move into in-person stuff as well. So it'll
Okay.
be available in both ways. Yeah,
Yeah,
once the pandemic ends.
that's awesome too to know that.
Yeah.
So we should get into a little bit of, in case somebody's worried about the tech they need to be able to use to work with artists. We should talk about that a
Mhm.
little bit. What do I need on my end to work with an artist in artist
Mhm.
access?
Yeah, I mean, anything you need on your end, most everybody is going to have already, just because of the nature of the beast of what we've been doing for this past year, technology-wise. So, literally, if you're set up to use Zoom, uh, you're probably good to go with Artist Access. Um, a decent mic is great, if you have that. And I don't know, when I do everything with Artist Access, everything is just with my computer camera, and it seems to work just fine. So you don't necessarily need the biggest and best equipment out there, just adequate, I think. But the mic is usually the most important thing, I would say. Um, and you can do all these things. You can do them with Zoom. You can use FaceTime. You can even do it right on the Artist Access site. We have our own platform there.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's actually it's HD audio and video. I think just as good or better than Zoom, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to know. One, that I can use something that I'm familiar with, but also
Hmm.
that there's something that you guys can provide as well.
Hmm.
And I think that it's good to just reiterate, the fact that, I mean, right now I'm doing this interview on my computer with the microphone that's in my computer, and it would probably be adequate.
Hmm.
I could hook up, like the next level and get a better microphone to make the experience a little bit better. So,
Hmm.
and that's really easy to do, like if anybody just does like a Google search for like how to set up an audio interface, it's really pretty easy to do.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd like to kind of come back to the artists, and just maybe there's some specific artists you could talk about and some of the things that they have been doing with students.
Yeah, so there's a group on our roster called the Regiment Horns, and they're they're honestly not, they're not a name recognition kind of group, but if you saw the people this group had played with, you would go, wow. They've been the horn section, and it's trumpet, sax, and trombone. And the trombone also plays flute. I think he might play all the woodwinds, but for the sake of what I'm talking about, we'll say trombone. So yeah, they are Justin Timberlake's horn section. So when Justin goes out and tours, these guys go with him. But they've recorded and performed with almost you name it: Kelly Clarkson, Lady Gaga, um, who's that guy? Lil Nas? Is he? Do I have
You
that
got me
right?
on that one. It sounds familiar, but
Okay, yeah, yeah. They sent me a list of everybody that they've worked with, and it's like, I don't know, 125 different pop groups and rock groups and hip hop and everything. It's crazy. And anyway, okay, so why are these people good with music education and working with students is kind of what you asked. So Mike Reed down in Brooklyn Center, he just hosted, along with one of the other schools down there, they hosted kind of an honor band sort of event, a 1 day kind of thing. And they brought in the Regiment Horns as their kind of their keynote speaker at the end of the day. And yeah, the guys were great. They actually went into a LA recording studio and paid for it out of their own pocket, and sat there and had great video and audio set up, in this professional studio, and just talked. And they talked a little bit about themselves. They talked a little bit about how they got to where they are now, because they all came from, just nothing basically. Sean Eric is the trumpet player, and he grew up in Oakland in a very very poor family. Just didn't have any of the advantages that a lot of us these days kind of take for granted, I would say. And he ended up just working hard on trumpet and went to Berkeley, and now he plays with Justin Timberlake. And they tell stories like that, and they're very relatable to the students when they tell it. So I think students kind of latch onto that and hopefully get inspired. So that's one group. And then you've seen Jeff Coffin and Wycliffe Gordon in action. Those guys are amazing, inspiring, and entertaining, and
yeah,
all
like
of
you're
these
talking
things.
about guys that are the whole package, because that's a hard thing as an educator. You bring somebody in and they can play, they can blow the roof off the place, but can they relate and talk to students?
Mhm.
And I know from my experiences that that's two guys, Jeff Coffin and Wycliffe Gordon, that they can talk to students, and they can inspire them, and they can motivate them.
Yep, exactly. Yep. Uh, Joe Bergstahler is another one. Of course, he's a good friend of mine, and I think, did he play with your band in Fergus a while back or
He
not?
played with the concert band at M State when I which is our local community
Right.
college,
Okay.
when I
Right.
was out there.
Yeah. And Joe's kind of on a whole nother level, as far as his classical trumpet performance and his clinics and that sort of thing. He's fantastic. We just signed on Billy Joel's music director and keyboard player, and he's just a super guy, very down to earth. Really wants to get out and work with kids, and basically kind of give back. Um, we just signed Paul Wertico, who was the drummer on a lot of Pat Metheny's albums.
Okay.
Yeah, and again, same kind of thing. He's a teacher in Chicago at Roosevelt University, and great performer, great guy, and just wants to give back like a lot of these people do.
Yeah, I mean, like you brought up Joel Bergstahler, and I think about when he was in Fergus. He was practicing, and he got really excited about something. He like flagged me into his practice room. I mean, it was really cool because he's super down to earth, just a really friendly guy, phenomenal performer at the same time. So
Yeah,
again, that's the kind of people that we want to have in front of our students, and the kind of people we want to work with.
yeah, yeah. I agree.
Okay, so Dell, I'm thinking, I'm a trombone player. I'm pretty strong throughout the band world, but definitely as I get higher level students on especially woodwind instruments for me, I can start getting to a point where it's like, boy, I need some help here with this saxophone player, clarinet player, oboe. This seems like the kind of thing where I might be able to go to Artist Access to fill that void in my program.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. In fact, it's perfect for that. If there are directors out there that might, feel like they aren't quite as strong on a certain instrument, then man, send your student to Artist Access and recommend that they take a lesson, even just one lesson with, um, a bassoon player, or oboe player, or drummer, or guitar player, whatever, because they're all there, and relatively inexpensive. So, I think that's a great resource for band directors to have their students go and get these extra lessons. Yeah.
Yeah, I would think that your double reed people would be just booked up solid, because
I
who knows?
know,
No one knows how to do those things.
yeah. I know, yeah. And even just taking the time, a 1 hour lesson to learn how to make reeds. I don't know if you can do that online, but man, or just even how to make a sound on bassoon. I mean, that's baffled me my entire career.
Yeah. Del, is there anything else you'd like to talk about Artist Access? We covered it all.
Yeah, I think we mostly covered it all, honestly. One thing that I'm hearing a lot from people is that they're just a little bit intimidated to take advantage of this. They look at the people and they look at their resumes and they think, well, I can't take a lesson with this guy, or we can't have this person critique our band. But I would just like to reassure people that these people on our roster, and I've gotten to know them, pretty well, and they are so, like, to a T, down to earth, just really good people and great educators that easily could come in and work with anybody's program. Doesn't matter if you're in Fergus Falls or International Falls or Austin, Texas, or wherever you are. They don't care. They just want to help. And I don't. I hope people won't be intimidated by the names. That's what I'm kind of getting at. So
Yeah,
take advantage.
yeah. I think that's a really good point, and a good way to end things is just take advantage of this. And because everyone I know that's involved with this, and it's not, it's a handful of people. I've always felt comfortable talking to them. I got to talk to Jeff Coffin and Wyclef Gordon and Joel Bergstahler, and they're approachable, and they'll do great things for these programs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Yep.
Well, thanks, Dal. Thanks for chatting today.
You bet, Scott. Thank you so much for hosting. This is a great thing you've got going on here. So congratulations.
I appreciate it.
You bet. Take care.